Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So let's start. So hi everyone. Welcome to this discussion. So this is our eighth weekly discussion, and this week we will discuss the lecture 11. The topic is tracer tracking models and the Lagrangian particle tracking module. So as we did before, so if you have any questions, so you may read it up here. So this is what we are talking about the tracer tracking and Lagrangian particle tracking. So any questions?
I have a question
Uh-huh.
about the can I share my screen? Okay.
Yes, please.
I want to know why we have to force order Rankuta method, not the second or third or fifth order. And is this the best order to calculate the Lagrangian particle tracking?
Okay, thank you. So as we did before, so we will first go through all the questions from all students, and then we will start to answer them one by one. Okay. Yeah. So who's next?
I will be next. So I'll share my screen. So yeah. My question is here. So in slide one, it shows a tracer particle. No, it shows a tracer tracking module. So I wonder is in tracer tracking module, it is possible to extract particle trajectory, like particle tracking modules is my question. And another question is why it is different for particle tracking to tracer tracking is my second question.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. I think that when simulating a particle tracking model in coastal area, whether particles stay on the beach is an important factor. In other words, I think the beaching and washing up process are important. So I'm curious about how these processes are calculated in FVCOM. Is it calculated in such a way that particles stop when they are in dry cell and move according to move, move according to the current when they are in wet cell? Is my question.
Okay, thank you. So who's next?
I have a question. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
As shown in this slide, FVCOM's particle tracking module applies particular landmarks to simulate turbulent diffusion. In the case of shallow regions with complex bathymetry and strong tidal mixing like estuaries or coastal zones, how should the particle diffusivity Km or the landmark parameters be determined or calibrated in practice? This is my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you please repeat the last part again? Sorry, I don't follow you.
No, he said how to apply how should be vertical diffusion and random polarization determined by all the calibrated. Okay, I can answer this question later. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
I have two questions, and in the tracer tracking method, I understood that the tracer is a passive substance that is affected by the flow, but does not affect the flow. And this means that even if a tracer accumulates to a very high concentrations in a region, the flow field remains unchanged in the model. So I'm curious about the limits of this no feedback assumption. So for example, for typical dye concentration levels, the density effect is negligible, and I think it's fine to ignore it. But if I use this tracer module to track something like salinity, which does affect density, I think it could be a problem. And
No.
this is not directly related to the lecture. My second question is about the heat flux sediment module. My research interest is to understand the effect of tidal flat sediment temperatures on coastal seawater temperature. So I tried to use the heat flux sediment module in FVCOM version 501. And to use this, I did field observations on a tidal flat. And from that, I try to calculate parameter values such as volumetric heat capacity and
Mhm.
or vertical thermal diffusivity. And also, I used satellite data to estimate tidal flat skin temperature and
Mhm.
created the initial condition for sediment temperature.
Mhm.
And this module includes
Yeah.
these three types of interactions, but in this code, many parts are commented out, and some variables and parameters are not defined in the entire source code. So I modified the code and activated the C sediment interaction and confirmed that this interaction is working through some idealized tests. But the part related to air interaction is still under editing now. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this in the right way. So if there are any reference or anything that can help me with this process, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay.
Anyone else?
How many people?
Okay. So if there is no more questions, so we may start one by one.
Okay, we start the first one. I can answer the first one to you. Okay.
Let me share my screen.
The first one just said why you don't use like a first or the second accuracy to particle tracking. Okay, that's good. That's yeah, so you use the high order because the particle tracking is really depend on how accuracy you track the particle, right? It's not like a FVCOM solver. We use the first or second accuracy for momentum calculation, right? This reason we use the second order scheme, accuracy, the first order method for the second approximation because we want to reduce the computer memory. Because FVCOM second order approximation, that's why we don't necessarily get too high order for the momentum calculation. However, for particles different. Particle different. Because the reason we use the second order for momentum calculation, because second order approximation, first order, you can sieve the space because you don't need to sieve every integration step the data, right? So you can start at the beginning. You don't need to sieve data during the calculation, but also keep the second order accuracy. But now is for Lagrange is different. For Lagrange, you want to at high order as possible, okay, to make sure you resolve the trajectory correctly. So that's the reason we use the first order approximation method to get a more accurate fitting and get more variability during the tracking time to get a more accuracy the trajectory. So that's the reason. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, so it's a so you ask how you evaluation trade-off. So in the here, so we use like a second order logic code method, the tracking. So you can easily use a analytical solution. Okay, you can easily analytical solution check your trade-off. You draw some function, you want to use the method of tracking with time. You can see how accurate they are. You definitely will see the first order can be provide more better accuracy for second order, particularly for velocity change with time. If you get a straight line, you didn't see any different, right? But then the velocity change during the time, during the t time, in the time, if a velocity big change, you find the first order can be much better. Okay, that's the only way you can evaluate it with methods. Also, you can evaluate with the drift data. I have a picture. I just tried to find it for you, for to show you how the particle tracking, how the real drifter comparison is. Okay, that's the way you can tracking the comparison how good the method is. But you have to very sometimes comparison difficulty because you need many drifter. No, because sometimes the trajectory can be random, right? That's the reason you have more measurement. You can see how the group publication, how good this method doing. Okay, that's the first question. Okay, that's okay. Can go to the second one if I answer the first one.
Percent.
Yeah.
Percent. For the previous question, does
Yeah.
that also mean that if I reduce the time, then even lower order the
Yeah.
tracking method is
You
even
get a low order approximation. If you get a reduce if time step is very small, okay, that's you can do. You even don't need a first order. You can use a first order if the time step is small. But the problem, if you do the tracking, you don't have so many model output because you model don't output like, for example, most offline tracking we output data with every hour.
oh
No, you particle train with every hour data output. So then we get a particle train for every 20 minutes. We submit every but every 20 minutes in the time it's a linear function, right? So if you want to really track online particle tracking, you get every time step. You don't necessarily get a first order. Right? You can use the first order. You check the time for every delta t time or delta couple. For example, the S3, you do the model for 1 second, right? That's why you don't need a high order. But most of the first order Lagrange coding, we use offline coding, right? Your output data for hourly. That's why even the hourly, you cannot track it for every hourly. You get a big still error. That's why you have to interpret data in the small domain, small time range. In small time range, you still have a problem because you don't want to even you divide the data for every 10 2 minutes, for example. We do the product change every 2 minutes, but every 2 minutes data is linear. It's linear, right? So we only consider spatial variability velocity, but we do not consider time dependent variability, right? Because the particle from A to B, you go to different zone, right? So this way you can consider spatial variability, but if you get every hour data, every hour tracking time, so you consider hourly time scale spatial variability, right? So then you got every 2 minutes, you consider every 2 minutes spatial variability, XY spatiality, okay? In this way, you can get a little bit improve is better tracking. Still, remember, still, you not consider time variability during 1 hour. You get a linear integration,
yes
right? That's the problem.
Right.
You can see with more data.
Okay, one more. So that means so in other words, if we have a kind of a sparse time step velocity field, the higher order particle tracking method is better than definitely than linear, right?
That
But
definitely
that means the higher the better.
no, it's not dependent on first order logic coda method is to be proved. But if you get more high order, you will lose the freedom, degree of freedom. Remember, you could talk ecosystem model. You said you can use the polynomial. You get a fitting for high. You get every curvature line. If you get a high order, high order polynomial fitting, you get more and more accuracy. Right, for fitting, better fitting. However, you also increase degree freedom, you lose the confidence level. So that's why you don't want to be too high order, like 10th order something, right? But if you like you had a curvature, if you do the curvature, if you divide any curvature line, it's many piece smaller, they all become linear.
Right.
You see what I mean? Yeah, right. That's why you better use the small time step to tracking, right? Because the particle tracking every location there, you get a more special variability. But the reason we do the hourly output is because velocity independent time scale is hour. Okay, if you go to look at measure the times, right? You can do we call auto covariance analysis. You do the auto covariance analysis, you can determine what time scale the data was independent. But for tidal circulation model, for S3 for that, it's 1 hour. This means that every measurement in the 1 hour, so especially random, okay, for the kind of pulse for others, right? For this 1 hour, in 1 hour, its measurement data is related. It's not independent sampling. Okay, so that's the reason we do the hourly output. But when you do the particle tracking, so we want to counting about a special variability in a short time period. When they go to different location, you don't want to every hour to tracking. That's the reason. Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The second picture. So you was said okay. The question you want to ask is you had a particle tracking. Is it possible to extract a particle trajectory for tracer tracking results? That's a complete two different concept. Okay, tracer tracking is to the concentration. Okay, there's a little question related to, but then the reason because particle tracking is like a particle tracer, right? You treat the particle as a particle tracer, right? Just they're only moving as a velocity, as a u and a v velocity or w, three-dimensional velocity. They are the vectored moving. But tracer equation is a concentration include mixing. Are different, right? So that's why you see the possible, actually a particle trajectory from the tracer. No, you put a tracer equation, you put a particle, they are two different directory. I had a paper compare with the dye experiments in the Georgia Bank. We put a dye in the Georgia Bank. We want to track the dye. Some people ask us, oh, you put a dye in the water, you can put a particle into the water, right? So then the dye trajectory should be look like particle trajectory. No, completely different. The reason because you put dye in the water, dye can expand vertically. Right? For example, you put a dye in the bottom, dye can advance to the vertical, can the horizontally. Then if you calculation the center of a dye, the mass center of the dye, so this trajectory is different from the particle. Okay, your particle only consider flow, but dye consider diffusion, right? This construct horizontal and vertical diffusion. That's why you're not able to do that, to track one to another, because the physical drive mechanism is completely different. So a lot of people think about it, like a out of water treat, like some wastewater treatment plant. They always tell us, oh, you should put a particle into there, do the study. They want to see how the particle go, but they don't understand the particle and the concentration is different way. Okay, that's why you're not able to do. okay, to do that. So you also, is that the fundamental limited to the concentration change only? So I don't understand the question, that's why, okay? You know, if you put a model concentration into the model, so concentration will be the vector currents be diffusion about the mixing, right? They would dilute. They dilute, okay? They was covering dilute system. So, you know, so I don't understand what it means for concentration change only, right? Because this is concentration need change unless you don't have a mixing. No, you don't have a velocity because you have to because you know tracer equation consider two physical mechanisms. One is called a mixing, right? Diffusion. Another is called dispersion. Okay, dispersion means no, you can you know this conservation not lost, but it was very specially, right? If you put one, for example, you put one concentration, one unit concentration in the water, so later on you see this water because mixing with the water has a concentration in the locally very low and low, right? But if you only consider about dispersion, if you add all the mass together, the whole body of the water still keep conservative. Okay, but another one is diffusion, then we lose the mass. Right? If we're diffusing the mixing, you will be no, this is concentration can be reduced. Right?
Right.
So something that's different. Okay? A particle and this one's different. Do I answer your question?
Professor Chen, but yeah, I'm totally understand. But if theoretically, if we have enough variation of so many number of particles with different density,
Mm-hmm.
does that, and if I put tons of particles with a randomly distributed density,
Mhm.
then can it be also regarded as some kind of a simulation of mixing? I mean,
Depending on where you are. Depending on where you are. If you was inside a very low time spatial variability field, you put a particle and a tracer, you should see the similar structure.
Mm,
When you do the S-ray,
mhm.
no, S-ray, you know, the I have a paper published show that. Okay.
There's a disruption. Would you tell me again,
Yeah.
Professor?
No, if you had a tracer has a concentration, like mixing, they not have a random structure come out. But a particle can be had a random trajectory. They can start shooting as a random, called chaotic. Okay. The reason because I can draw the picture to you. I had a pen here. I had a pen now. Okay. Okay, I had a pen. Okay, I can draw. You see here, I draw here. Don't you see here? What's in the S-ray? For example, S-ray here, right? They got a lot of eddy
Mhm.
circulation because it changes. If you look at tracer, the tracer can be eddy, the moving like a concentration like this. If you put a particle, if we have two eddy here, if particle reach to the set point, the eddy variation they can shooting,
Mm,
right? That's called a chaotic theory.
mm,
If we have a double eddy, a stable eddy, if you have a periodic motion moving eddy around, if anything inside this eddy at the shorter point, they become a chaotic.
mm.
Okay, I can show you today. I give the lecture. Okay, you know, if you show, I show the screen for you. I give my student, you know.
I can open it here.
Yeah. No. I just yeah, I can show my today's lectures. I can show the one things to you. Okay, show you the one picture to you. Okay, so show you what happened. Okay. See, I can show screen.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, I can show screen. Okay. You see, I talk about. Okay. I talk about this one. This one. Have you seen this one here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You see, if you had a front circulation, for example, are you vertically, you can apply the horizontal S-ray. So if you stay the front, you had a jet circulation is front here, you have a converging flow here, you get a two double cell. If this circulation steady, no change with time. You put the particle here, the particle moving circularly come back the same location. I put a 10 particle here, the all particle moving the same location, just moving circle like this. Very regular, right? If I put ties in, either had a tide motion, like a force back, periodic motion, force back. If I put a same particle here, you see I put a particle in this side, you see the particle randomly. So then I put a particle in this side, they not go to circle anymore. They cross the front, get it randomly. That's the analytical solution. Okay, that's why in the S-ray you had a random trajectory can happen, right? That's why you don't represent the water mass. This depends on kind of, this kind of chaotic, motion structure in S-ray. Okay, be careful. You see, you also you can Lee can open my recent paper for the FVCOM validation.
Yes.
Yeah, you can stop share. You can look at my published paper about the FVCOM validation for wet dry pond. I talk about the random structure. Okay. So you can see, yeah.
May I know which year?
No, not random, just for this one, for the FVCOM, the validation, wet and dry pond part 2.
Mm,
No, go
do-
down.
do-
No, go down. Go down.
Oh, this one?
This one, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, wait a second. Oh,
Okay, you can see that. Oh, what's happened?
wait a second. It's still downloading. Yeah.
You go down. Go back. Go back. Yeah, you see here? Go back, yeah. That's why I wrote like a paper 20 years ago. Okay. I don't really care publication there. Last time they asked me to submit a paper, they invited me to submit one paper. I said, oh, I'll give this paper for you. They publish. Okay, go down. Go down. Yeah, go down the trajectory. No, go down. Yeah, you look about here. Let me explain. No, go down. Yeah. You see here? Go down. Go down. Go down. You have to go down. Okay. Yeah, here. Here, you look at here. Because you look at the fear. I showed it before. You go back to here. You go back to up. Show the residual circulation. That's why we had observation to modify. You go back to larger scale. No, go
Larger.
go up. No, go to the previous page. You see the circulation. No, let me. No. No. Just look about a circulation pattern, residual circulation pattern. I plot
Yeah,
over
I
there.
think figure 9,
Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one.
figure 8.
Yeah, yeah, this one go no, big, yeah, 容 in. Yeah, see here. Okay, you look about, could you roll a bigger one? No, can I see the picture bigger? You look here. You see the eyeline, you see the AD here? One AD here, right? The AD, the circulation residual AD. Okay, that's residual after tidal averaging. You see AD here. So this kind of region, now if you look at this ADCP data, you can really compare. You see this flow here, this flow here. But ADC, you can really compare with data, show how good measurement is. But now you have this kind of tracker, you get this AD something like this, okay? Right? So now you go down, you put a particle. Right? You go to particle, just go to particle, yeah, just the last one. This is this one. You put a particle here, you see here one time step, they go to 1 to 2. Then they certain time step go to 3, go to 4, go to 5, go to 6. Because this actually is narrow. Right? They don't kind of develop chaotic. When they go to 7, you see what happened? Right? In this region, they got a lot of AD here. You see the 8, 9. In the why from here to jump to here.
Okay.
That's random.
I see. Nice.
Right? So then you see here. That's why you see this one, they jump here. They suddenly, because they got two, they add here, they jump from here, time step. But if you put a tracer, they never happen. Right? So that's why.
You mean it is because it is a particle. It is.
Yeah, because in the X-ray, if you have a residual eddy circulation field, because your tidal moving, the system is chaotic. The physical that's chaotic system. That's why you do particle tracking, so you will see, if only because this we talk about chaotic just for motion, just a movement, right? So this motion can be chaotic, unpredictable. Okay. So then if you use like a tracer, you don't have a problem. Because tracer include mixing. Right? This one don't include mixing.
I see.
It's a fully determined flow.
Right.
Right? So you hard to do that. Okay. So you can go to my paper, this one. Yeah, no. You see, I mentioned, you see the results suggest that the water exchange process in this S3 NAND was chaotic in the nature. Right? That's existence of the barrel, compress, acting as the accelerator to enhance the water exchange between the S3 and outboard river. The chaotic system played an essential role to maintain the healthy environment in the S3. Okay.
Okay. Wonderful.
Okay. Okay. If not, we can go to the next question. You don't have more question? So second one here. Your answer is chaotic. How the FVCOM calculation the beach and wash off. Okay. Yes, a good question for this. So what will happen is one, if we have a particle, this go to the beaching or go to the region was dry, particle will stay there. For example, you have a X-ray, you have a particle, you're moving from the wet point to dry point. Right? When the aging before it's wet, now they become before it's dry, they become the wet. Then particle can moving from the one part to the because the region before it's dry, now it becomes wet. Particle can move in. However, next time step becomes dry. Then particle stay there.
Yeah.
So the next time this region becomes wet, you have a velocity, particle can move in again. Okay, because water becomes dry, velocity equal to 0. That's why they stay there. So if you put a particle in the estuary, you can see a lot of particles stay there in dry port. But later on, you get a more flooding happen, so they come back to water. That's what they do the modeling. That's the same case for the beach, okay? Right? That's the same case for beach.
That's why nowadays there's a lot of garbage or trash
Yeah, they stay there.
is stayed in the beach or tidal flat.
Yeah.
And actually, this question came from our recent field experiment,
Mhm.
and we put like more than 100 GPS surface drifter
Mhm.
near the Han River estuary
Mhm.
because of there's a lot of marine debris came out of from Seoul,
Yeah.
and we are located in the down estuary.
Yeah.
So we want to know how this GPS drifter moving around near
Mhm.
Han River estuary, and we found that a lot of GPS drifters are just beached on near the tidal flat.
Yeah.
And
So
we
they
tried
don't-
to, yeah, I will show you the field experiment later, but the question is how, but sometimes it beach and
Yeah.
then it just move, but that process seems like a very random.
Yeah.
Sometimes it moves right away, sometimes stay there 3, 4 days and then move,
Yeah.
sometimes 15 days. So it seems like very random and
No,
chaotic. And
that's exactly correct. The reason because when they stay in the beach, they're not able to move because they stay beach. But then depending on because if you only had a tide, only that's why it should be regular. They can be moving sometime out. But the problem is not only tide.
mm,
You also have a wind.
mm,
A wind change with time. That's why your flooding area, flooding the speed and the water level is different from different time.
mm,
Right? If you go to estuary, for example, you do the one transect, you want a calculation tide average in transport. Not even without the wind, you not get the same results.
I'm sorry again.
If you have a river,
Uh-huh.
you cut transect.
Uh-huh.
So you do the tidal averaging because when the tide becomes stable, then you do the calculation transport, right? So you want to calculate every tidal cycle average transport. You see that the transport change with time. Suppose it should not. Okay, supposedly transport should not change because you only, for example, you consider only M2 tide,
Mhm.
right? So if M2 tide, so then the M2 tide, if the system is linear, so then you cut the transect, you can see the transport should be equal for every tidal cycle average, should be constant,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
However, when you M2 tide go to estuary, you interacted with the topography, then you can cause M4 tide.
Mm,
Now M4 tide is a period is different from M2 tide,
mhm. Mhm.
right? If you cause more another component had other diameter tides there, that's why you get tide variation with change with time. You
Mhm.
only do the M2 tide averaging, you see the transport change with every tide cycle. They don't reach to equilibrium state.
Mm.
No, they can equilibrium state, but it's not steady state.
You mean this is because of nonlinearity?
Exactly. Right? So now when you have a drifter there, stay the wetland, because the wind difference, the drag difference, the wind difference, the water level has a different each time. It's not just every time it's like you look at a movie, say, oh, like a tide cycle, go becomes wet, dry, right? But really case is not equally.
Mm.
So sometimes the water can be level high. For example, some drifters there, so they're not able to the regular tide. They have to wait the spring tide. They get a water high enough, they can bring
Yes.
out. Some drifters stay their location, so probably water don't need the spring tide. The regular tide can bring out because the different location, different tide flooding different.
Mm. So the next question is, then how can we model it? How can we simulate it?
That's what we do. Just we treat the white dropper. If you stay the white, dry, you just put it like you stay there. For they're waiting for next time all the time. But sometimes the driver there is never able to come out. But somebody can come out. Right? It's not a random, it just depends on the sea level, depend on the situation. So you just model like this way. You can model, you can do the simulation. Right? You can track the particle, like we do the particle trajectory, we was in the S3. So we do the measurements, we try to put some drifter, we want to compare the model drifter. So we never able to compare. But however, when we do the lot of trajectory, we can compare. Particularly for the shooting area. Look at S3, like S3, you have a mouse. In there have a big shooting, we call it tight shooting. In this region, the shooting can be happen in a very narrow region. Okay, so if a particle was in shooting, you can go to shooting, model trajectory, but you random particle wind drive a little bit shifting for the jet point location, they can go to coastline very quickly. So we do see the big shooting for current measurement ADCP. So then we put a drifter. We want to see, can we drifter show how the shooting is, right? Then we find out drifter quickly go to the coast. But because we only put a two drifter, however, if we get a 10 drifter, we probably have 1 or 2 show the shooting, right? But we don't have enough money by the 10 drifter.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's why. That's another question. Yeah, that's a good question. You see that you put when we talk about this one, we need a review, like a particle tracking and a tracer equation different. Tracer equation, when you put a tracer, you consider about diffusion, you consider about the mixing. But in the particle, you consider only flow advection. So then you don't have the mixing. So then the question come out is, if you this one is not a true water exchanges. You only show how the water movement, particle tracer movement. You didn't show the mixing because it can be mixed, right? That's why people think about we should consider some turbulence into the particle tracking. That's what the reason for the random walk include. But random walk include, be carefully have a random walk. Because random walk includes just sort of mixing. Mixing should be distribute the particle away from the center. But you put 100 particles, they should be diffused out. However, for a lot of random walk theory, they got accumulation.
Really?
Yeah. If you don't do carefully, the accumulation, so you put we got 20 particles surrounding, they can accumulation together.
Huh.
That's why for random walk theory, you can go there. You look about a lot of random walk theory. You get a lot of people talk about different kind of random walk. The very simple way, just for square root for k. This one, for eddy viscosity. Now some people just use it directly for this number. You see, this one we had a change of grading. Some people just use 2, like something like this, right? But you can see a lot of method. But the course like this one, a lot of cases can cause a particle accumulation. If this one, this means you fail. The one we use this one here, we test a lot of time. We find it really satisfied, normal. We get a static meaning, normal distribution, right? So, but the problem, you said, okay, how we validated that? Very hard to validate. You just put the mixing into the water, just a certain consider mixing, but doesn't really mean. So this things really give you a correct answer. Right? You just consider a little bit of random variability, right? The aperture from the advection. But doesn't mean that the variability you provided is exactly correct. Right? Because you how you compare with that? For example, I can show you, perhaps let me find something if I can find, okay? Hopefully I can find, oh yeah. I can find this. I give a talk for National Academy of Science. Okay, U.S. National Academy of Science. I give a talk about I think it's 2003. Let me check it. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, the wind. I think this is no. Let me check. Then I can share the screen with you. Okay. Yeah, I want to show you the one things. Let me find out the first. Okay. No, that's not the one I want to show. Okay, I don't want to show. No, later you can discuss. Let me find a one over here. Okay, so I can have the one. I think 2003. I remember. Oh yeah, I can find the one. Okay. Yeah, I hope I can find the one. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't have the one here. I don't have the one here. I wanna find the one figure here. Yeah. Okay. Can I share screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, share screen. You see here. You see that's the slice. Everybody able to see the slice?
Mhm.
Okay, this is a red one is a really drifter. When we working for Mid East country, so they give us $50 million for Wusa oceanography tuition. So we try to do the Lagrange measurement in the Red Sea. Okay, so when we get an instrument buy for the 40 drifter, lot of drifter, so we carry the drifter into the country. They don't allow to put it into water. They don't allow us to put the drifter into the water. Middle East country, really, very different. That's why we spend like $1 million to buy the large drifter, then stay the lab, sleep lab, not able to use that. So then what happened? We use it for this study. Okay. We take someone, put it here, large drifter, you see here. The red one is observation drifter. Okay, just put it there, many drifter. Each line is one. Okay, like I make it bigger.
Is that just one drifter
No,
trajectory?
no. Many drifter.
Uh-huh.
Each line is represent one drifter.
Okay.
Okay, this means we put it here. We put it here, drifter here. No, put it here. Many. Okay, so they go back here first, then later they're moving out. Okay, this each line is the one drifter. I think more than 20 or 30 drifter here. The blue line is the blue line. That is FVCOM. We should have blue line. That's FVCOM results. Drifter.
Mm.
Okay, you see the sure same pattern go there, go there. One group go there, one group go there. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You see the
Right.
comparison, but a question come out. You see here, FVCOM one is not diffused as an observation. No, FVCOM is even diffused. Right, but observation is more narrow. You see here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You see what you can see this kind of dispersion. Observation dispersion much smaller than the model. Right? In model, we see that dispersion like this here to here, but this red one just from here to here. Dispersion scale is much narrow. Then also you see, but model did show the 2 part, one go this way, one is go, but dispersion, you see the way, go this way, you see very narrow, but we are very larger, diffuse. Right? So that's come out your model had a numeric mixing, right? So we try to put a random walk in, it's not really helpful because random walk is a perturbation, very normal, very narrow. You can see a little bit different, but you're not able to get like a whole structure. But this is kind of another issue. You can see that it's very clearly you do numerical dissipation. So then you see that we look about a curves comparison. That's the CODA. That's a high frequency radar. Red, white, blue is the FVCOM result. No data simulation. Okay, you see here, you see all the currents go like a very match very well. But then, right? But the problem is though, your numerical dispersion is still larger than the observation. You see that's why? But this is no random walk, okay? No random. I had another paper, I close it here. I close it here. So this I use this one. I close here, then CG probably can find my dye paper was George's Bank compared with dye. All right. Compared with dye, no, I think I wrote him with a Columbia University guy. Yeah, dye paper.
Which year do you remember?
I think it's 2009, so something like, you go back, I show you. You go back to 4 is fine, okay. You see it had a person called Bob Holden.
Oh, okay. So it's 2008, I think.
No, yeah.
It's 2008.
2008, yeah.
Yeah.
Bob Holden.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, this one.
This one, yeah. You see here?
Wait a second.
I want to show you what a dye movement, what is a trajectory movement that is different. Okay. You look at this one here. Now we put a dye, over here. Yeah, you make a big zoom. Yeah, put a dye over there. Yeah, we put a dye there. So we want to see how the cluster flung. This is tidal mixing flung. How the cluster flung, the structure look like. You see the compared dye. No, go back the dye picture. Go down. Go down. I just want you can read the paper. Okay, you can read the paper there. You see the dye. We put a dye. Then after we put a dye, we get a transect measurement of what the dye look like. The concentration. Right? We met, So then we look here, you go down. You go down. This is temperature measurement that they found. Go down. Go down. I just want to show the vertical structure comparison dye. Yeah. You see, we do the different resolution. Okay, do the mathematical. I show the dye. You see, no, go there. Go this one. You see here. You see really consider. That's a dye center. You calculate my center, that's the dye center movement. Start a point here, they move in circle like this way. Right? You see that's dye center for here, right? They're moving like something like this. That circle like this way, right? So then you look at particle tracking near the surface. You see, you go that way. Near the bottom, go that way.
So is there a field experiment or numerical model result?
No. This is observation.
Oh, okay.
This was observation. Okay, dye center. This is the particle for model. This is for model particle. Okay. So then another time you can see this one. You go to next picture. Go there. Yeah, it's dye. You see this dye. Okay. You see the observation. It's the structure like this way. That's the opposition dye. Let me clean this one here. I don't wanna. Okay. You see here, it's observation dye. You see the temperature go this way, the salinity go like this way. You see the front over here. You see the dye was here. Right?
Dr. Shen, I can't see your point. Could
You
you?
look at the picture here. That's observation.
Yeah, now I can see.
See the temperature, salinity, and the dye, observation dye. If you only do the model simulation without the data simulation for SAT data, that's what you get. Not a treat dye. When you do the SAT simulation, put the temperature in there, look like observation asymmetrically, that's the model dye. Very close to this one. You see that the vertically, you put a dye at the bottom, they can distribute very quickly to surface. You go to next slide, you can show that. All right, you see this one? You see that you do the simulation, you put temperature, if temperature set it correctly, you see this stratification is this observation, right? That's the model. So you see the dye can be moving not horizontally, also moving expect vertically. So it's different from particle. Then go downstairs. So then a calculation, this is another one. I do a lot of comparison, right? The different time. So I do the calculation, look like this trajectory. So don't worry about this. This I need to spend too much time to explain this one. Okay, go, yeah. You go down. You see, that's the dye. You see, if I do the, without data simulation, you see the dye's movement like this way. Okay. But if I do a data simulation, like the temperature structure correctly, you see dye moving like this way. But this point is the center of a dye. You go to the mathematical, I go to down, I show the mathematical, how you calculate dye. Okay. No, you see, go this picture there. Go about this picture. You see, I go to observation, you look at comparison, the times of observation, simulation, like a vertical averaging dye concentration. If you don't do a simulation, that's what happens. Your simulation, you get a better, right? So then you go to mixing. How you get a dye? That's correctly. You go down the picture. You see, that's very a lot of people cite this picture. If you use the resolution of a 2-kilometer resolution model, that's what diffusion coefficient you got. So then you reduce like a 2-kilometer resolution, that's what you got. When you reduce like a 500 meter, you see that's a dot points of observation, you get really match. That is observation. This dye you can calculation what is the diffusion coefficient look like. So then you use the model to treat dye correctly. You find a resolution really dependent. If you really got the one dye correctly, you had to have a converging study. You had a very high resolution. You can get a dye tracking correctly. Right? So then you look at how the dye center, how the center move. So center move, see here, the center move with 2 velocity. One is like water column, dye column, average velocity. Another is shear. Because the water is shear, 2 components. Right? So they control by the shear. So you can see the shear can be moving the dye surface of shear. They can move the dye turning. So move it slowly and moving down. In the meantime, they're also moving in the mean velocity. Okay, I do the street. You go down. Go down picture. You go down, go down. Yeah, this one. You see over here, it's really one. You see this one? You see, I do see the dyes moving here. If I use the equation, I find the mean velocity over there. You see, really match it for the observation. I want to see which turns are really important. I think I find sure it's very control. Right?
Shear control.
Yeah, sure. The word is sure. Right? That's why it's different from the particle tracking. Okay. So now that's why when you do this, you have to be careful, particle tracking and traces different. Okay. Okay. That's you can down. If people interested, you can read my paper, okay?
Yeah, I sent the reference of this paper in the chat part.
Okay. So another question. Okay. Okay, is it you include two types of tracking, the formulation for horizontal diffusion mixing. The later one is consider turbulence mixing for random walk. You know, I understood the tracer is a particle system that was affected by flu, but not affected flu. Yeah, not affected flu. That's correct. But this means that even the tracer was accumulated to very high concentration region enough. That could be normally affected density. That's different. That's different. Because density only affected by temperature salinity. Right? That is driving by the water movement. But tracer is like some kind of tracer. It's not had a dynamics related to the momentum equation. No, that's why your dive is very, for example, if your temperature had a high temperature, low temperature, you can cause like grading, you can change the density, you can change the water mass, heavy and low. Dye just like a tracer, okay? Right? Like a tracer, for example, you put a dye in the water, the color, right? It's just they color the water, but don't change the water density. Okay? That's why that's different. It's not a change in the flow. Okay, it's different. It's it's a concentration. Not like you said, okay, now if I had a phytoplankton, for example, it's a tracer, I treat the phytoplankton. So phytoplankton has a mass. They can stay there in the body, they can block the water, right? But a tracer over here, no. Okay. That's not a change in dynamics. They not be able to change the flow. Okay. That's the assumption we have. Okay. Right? We can consider about the mixing, the vacuum effect of the tracer, but we're not able to consider feedback. Okay, we talk too long, it's already 1 hour. Okay.
Yeah. So the last one is this one.
Oh, this
So
one is very good question. That's one very nice. You know, you can very good question. You got a model do the simulation of temperature. You got a coding. I couldn't read this coding, the detail you change it. So then you want to determine how the heat budget sediment flux. So you had a sediment flux temperature. You get a water temperature, the difference. You can see how much flux in. But then the big issue is this one had a coefficient, right? Because you get a temperature difference. Now, if you sediment warm, the water cold, the heat flux go from sediment to the water, right? So if sediment is cold, the water warm, they can suck the heat to the sediment. But you get a very beautiful, the time series, I see this beautiful, right? So you get a water temperature, you really can use the model to use AI or some method or use some reverse. You can determine the K coefficient. Use your data, use the FVCOM model, temperature. Don't need to run the model, okay? Now you can use the bottom temperature data FVCOM model, but just the observation data. You better use observation, but model data probably not true. So you get a water temperature data in the bottom, you get a sediment temperature. So then you use the observation temperature minus your like a sediment temperature. Then you can determine what the coefficient is, right? How it changes. So then you compare a FVCOM model, the temperature bottom level, but you don't consider it, you probably overheating or overcooling, right? So you use the parameterization, you can use the observation parameter put in the model. Use this to determine what the heat transfer is. That's very good. You can write a good paper. You get a good data set, right? So you can write a paper saying how the sediment temperature can really affect the ocean bottom temperature, right? You can analysis based on analysis. You can do that. So you also then you can get some issues to get the exchange rate correctly. But you get a long time series, really beautiful. You can use to determine that. Depend on the sediment model, depend on region, you can do that. So then you can get a more accuracy the region you measure, you get a more model correctly for bottom temperature. Okay.
Yeah,
I cannot
so
check coding. I don't know whether you're doing correct or not, but your approach is correct. Okay.
yeah, so those are all the questions raised today. So is there any other question? So the 1 hour is over. If there is no other question, so we may stop here. No? Okay, so thank you so much for joining this discussion. So I will post all the questions and answers on the discussion board and see you next week.